Steven.
Same question, though.
Yes, please.
What was the question?
So we're starting from the past, moving into the present and the future, right? So, maybe some of, or if not many of the students could relate to how tough high school was and all that. So I just wanted to make that connection. How you found Full Sail? How was high school in Pennsylvania, right? Or in New Jersey? Where did you grow up?
High school was fucking awful.
Yeah.
I like high school. I did not have fun in high
Go.
school. I tried to have fun in high school, but I was skating a lot and didn't really get there. And so, anyway, I found a love of movies while I was in high school, but I found it through doing skate videos, music videos with my friends. I was on Vans Warped Tour for a little bit, just kind of filming behind the scenes as much as possible. That's what I was doing during high school, and I didn't find Full Sail until much later though. So I went off and messed around for a few years, just kind of touring around, doing things like that, before I actually made it here in 2003 or so. I graduated high school in 99. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was more or less trying to, I guess, find myself through my creative works, and I sort of found my style while I was shooting skate videos and music videos, because I really understood, okay, my style is kinetic. I want to be kinetic. I want everything to have some kind of kinetic feeling to it. Look, I love the most artistic movies you guys love, but I can't fucking make those movies. And I'm not trying to make those movies, right? I'm trying to make the most bombastic action movies possible. I've said it many times. My friends in class were like, we want to make Requiem for a Dream, we want to make whatever that is. I just want to make Bad Boys, and so I say that because all of those guys in my film class don't make movies, and I do. So I think it's about you finding what you can do and what you do well while you're here, and trying to hone in on that, and trying to make that, like you just said, manifesting. You have to really will it to happen. No one's going to give it to you. No one's out there saying, I hope you can direct my movie. That's not going to happen either. You're not filling out applications to be a director. You're not turning in resumes to be a director. You have to go make that happen. You have to will it to happen, and you have to want to be able to sacrifice whatever it takes. We've all done that to do it. I mean, I slept in my car for 2 years when I got out here with my first movie before I actually sold it to the Weinsteins. So it takes time. Nothing happens overnight. And then when it does happen, it can all go away really quick. So it's like, then you're starting all over. So it's a process. So I think it's important that you just understand that you're here, you're with a lot of people who love what they do and love what you do, is get to know those people. There'll be a support system at some point, and so, but enjoy your time here.
Nice. Okay, how old were you when you started at Full Sail? I guess that's okay, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And looking
That's when
back,
we were young.
and looking back, is there anything you would have done differently, or do you have one memorable anecdote that here at Full Sail, something funny or awkward? But
Not stories I can tell. I was 20, I think, when I got here. I grew up in the Midwest in Kansas. I went to KU. I was sailing without any direction. I didn't know where the fuck I was gonna, sorry, I swear a lot, I apologize. I didn't know what I was gonna do. One morning I woke up and I was drunk in a fraternity, and I was like, I hate my life. Like, I've become a caricature of everything I hated and things douchey. And I realized that I was spending my parents' money doing something that didn't bring me any happiness. So I said that, I wanted to be a filmmaker. So I left KU, I came out here at 20 years old. The thing that, a memorable story is, I think that with Full Sail, I was nowhere near the most talented person in my class, not even probably in the top 25%. But I'm confident in myself, and I have passion, and that's, you get what you put into it. And I think that, when I was here, a lot of the people that were talented, they'd go out to the bars and they'd go and hang out and they'd do movie nights, and I did, and I stayed here. And so much so that we slept in the edit room here, making our own short films over the weekends every night. So everyone else was out, hanging out on Church Street, and we literally were sleeping here. And I remember one time, we weren't doing this with permission, we literally would sneak into the edit room and fall asleep and try to edit stuff. there was a couple of times that we were caught and threatened to be kicked out of the school, but that's what you gotta do. You gotta I was here for what, 14 months when I was here. And I wanted to get every single thing I could. So from, sacrificing relationships and going out, it was trying to suck up all the information you can get out of here. And I think that those that succeeded in my class and those that are working in Hollywood that came from my class were all those people. They were the ones that just, said for these 13 months, this is why we're here, this is what we're gonna do, and that's all we did.
Please don't sneak into any of the studios.
I still might have a couple of keys I can lend you guys.
Especially not the
Not really an edit.
It's a reality.
I was gonna say, it's not up in the studio.
Yeah, I'm sure both of these guys probably still sleep in their editing rooms. Yeah, I actually was living in Orlando. Like, I won't go very far back, but I was living in Orlando. I had tried my first college, is what I call it, and you'll see a lot of us have done this at some point. I wanted to be an architect. It turns out you need a lot of math. And kind of like Brandon was like, I can do all the other stuff, but the math. So that didn't work out. So I kind of moved to Orlando and I started at entertainment at Disney. And was, close friends with Goofy and Chewbacca, and I was getting into the kind of the acting side of things. That was kind of my frat years at that time. It was my 20s. I think I started there when I was 20. Through that, the osmosis, Full Sail had started out of a computer animation program, and I heard about it, and I was getting into computers at the time. I was shooting a lot of my own stuff at home on green screen for puppet stuff that I was going to pitch, because I was doing puppets at the time. I was doing the show called Bear in the Big Blue House, for anybody who's heard that. And that was kind of coming home with me, that excitement from what I was doing at work. And then we heard about the school, so I came down and we kind of checked it out. And at that point, I think I was 25 or 26, which honestly kind of felt old. Like, I was like, I got to do something. As much as I loved working at Disney and doing that stuff, I couldn't imagine myself now at 48 still being Goofy. Like, I had bigger goals, and for me growing up, I was a big movie nut. Like, my mom, she was the mom who would go to Blockbuster or go to Hollywood Video, and like, she was the opposite of most parents. She's like, pick whatever the hell you want. And like, these guys, the bigger the action for me, the better, dude. American Ninja, like Predator, all those kind of movies for me. No matter what was on the box, she was always game. And the crazier sometimes the better. She would go ahead and get it, we'll watch it together. So I kind of always had that background, and coming to Full Sail and seeing like, oh my God, this is something you can actually do. Like, people actually do this, and I love live action movies. I know I work at Disney now in animation, but like, my favorite movies, Blade Runner, Legend, Labyrinth, I love all of that stuff. And I wanted to do that. But when I got to school, I realized kind of something that was different with me, and it's kind of like Darren too. I wasn't the hot shit in class. I wasn't the best one in my class. But what I was somebody who actually I was a bit extroverted, and I was comfortable in my own skin, and I was willing to get up and talk to people. I was willing to network with anybody I could. Like, everybody in my class I was friends with, everybody. And I knew right away the people to hang out with and not hang out with. Because like Darren said, like, I was living here. Actually, the joke with a lot of these guys who know me, like, I was DJing actually a lot of the off nights in downtown. So like, I had this other life with friends and stuff, but when I decided to go to Full Sail, I kind of turned that off. And that was tough for me because they all wanted to hang out still throughout the week. They're like, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, nah, like, I'm actually working on a career. Like, what? Like, no, dude, you got a career. You work at Disney, you do this. I'm like, no, like an actual career, following my dreams. So, that's one piece of advice, and Darren hit the nail on the head. You need to be willing to take a step away from all of it. And that includes like even some of maybe hobbies you love doing, like, I love playing video games. Even that back then I was into it so deep that I had to say, like, look, that's still gonna be there when it's done. And that's something I tell all you guys, like, whatever you're into, going out to bars, guess what, they're still there. Yeah. They'll be there when you're done. So, focus while you're here. That's my biggest thing, just focus while you're here, because same thing, I was there for 13 months. And it goes by, God, it goes by so fast,
All right, let's go back. What gave you your first big break, and did that job pay the rent?
When I came to Full Sail, it was to go work for a sound company, one of the largest sound companies on the planet right now. And when it was time for me to come out of the school or graduate from the school, they did not accept me into the program, even though they hired directly from Full Sail grads. So I went home with no job, and it was like the worst feeling ever. You guys know, like outside of the live venue, there's that security shack with the arm. The day that I found out, I went outside. Behind that, there's a door that goes into the venue, and I just sat there and cried. I was like, yo, I literally planned this. I had this roadmap out. And I was like, I'm gonna go to Full Sail, get this job, somehow work for Alicia Keys one day, blah, blah, blah. And called my mom, cried. I said, they don't want me. And she gave me whatever great words of wisdom she did at the time. So I went home with no job and just freelanced around New York City, making like $200 a day, $150 a day, working for a mentor of mine. But this wasn't like $200 every day. This was like $200 this week. 3 weeks later, $100. Next week, $800. Maybe that's a good week right there. You know what I mean? Like, so there was definitely some times, and especially as a freelancer right now, like my income is based off of networking. And if I'm not out there putting myself in front of people and having conversations, that means that the lights may get cut off, which they don't get cut off. But it's, you know, I know in month one you all take classes that you have to, I think it's like public speaking or stuff. And I think, you know, some people don't want to be extroverted. I'm a true introvert, really. But I know when I need to turn it on, because that is what is going to market you and brand you out into the world so that you can then get money to, you know, live at this point in life. So coming out of school, it's going to be challenging, but I will say don't have anxiety, don't stress. You're on a journey that a lot of us have been on, where money wasn't, you know, was far and few in the beginning, but eventually it comes in and you're provided for, and you can provide for your family and yourself. So, yeah.
So who gave you that first break, or what?
I made my first break. Nobody gave it to me. Okay. I made my first feature here at Full Sail with all of you guys, all my classmates. We did it in 9 days while we were here. And then I drove it to LA once I graduated. I slept in my car for about 2 years to finish the movie. So I was editing on my laptop, getting people to score the movie who happened to be like Jamie, who was doing Gears of War at the time, who came on to compose my movie for free. You should find random people. But ultimately what I did was I started mapping out where the studios were, and I started going to all the bars that were the closest to the studios. Thinking, well, shit, people are in that, they gotta work, and then they're gonna come out, and they're gonna filter into the bar. And so that happened. I was at a bar across the street from the Sony lot, and I met a security guard, and I had the trailer for my movie on a disc. At that time, it was 2007, CDs. And I convinced the security guard to allow me to run onto the Sony lot the next day and drop my disc onto as many desks as I possibly could. I dropped it on a desk, I went to my car. About an hour later, I got a call from Sam Raimi. And Sam Raimi was J.R. Young, who gave the disc to Sam. So the first person to ever watch my movie on a big screen on the Sony lot was me and Sam Raimi. And that was a surreal experience. So I guess it was Sam who ultimately, Ghost House wasn't buying movies at the time, they were trying to figure it out. And he's the one that sort of walked me over to the Weinsteins, and that's how the movie ultimately sold. So I guess if you want to say the big break, that's how it came to be, but I willed that to happen, right? I didn't get it from someone, or like, it was like I made that happen. And I made that happen by just sheer willpower of being out there, and making sure, like me and Darren have talked about plenty of times, is I went out there, refused to get a normal job. I wasn't gonna work at Olive Garden or whatever. I wasn't gonna work anywhere that didn't, help me get to where I needed to go in my field. Because I didn't want to get stuck and just sitting around doing some, pencil pushing shit. So I really focused on the movie at the hand, the task at hand was getting there. And if I didn't make it, that was just what it was, live or die. So I think that's, for a lot of people in our position, I think you'll hear that. Very similar story of there's no other alternative, right? And I think that's sort of the passion you have to leave here with, because that's the most important thing. Because it's a rush. You're gonna come out of here and the rush is gonna go down. So you have to capitalize on that rush as you leave, right? So right now you should be applying, you should be getting your resume out, you should be talking to whoever it is that you wanna try to work for now, So that way you're letting them know, in 2 months I'm out, in 1 month I'm out, right? So by the time you get out of here, there's a plan, and you're not just getting out of here just like, what do I do? So I encourage you guys to, be pushing for that now. Yeah, that's it.
How about you? What?
I don't think it's the answer there is no first big break. It's a series of small breaks that one night, like for example, I went from being broke and penniless on a couch, the classic cliche story, to directing Saw 2 overnight. But it wasn't an overnight thing. It was years of being fired and fuck ups and not being able to make rent and borrowing money and taking money. And then after a series of these sacrifices and these shitty nights, then you'll get the phone call if you put in the work. And so it was a thousand small breaks. But I'll tell you, it's a two-part story, and I'll try to make it as quick as possible. But I was, when I first came to Los Angeles, coming out of Full Sail, where I directed a 35mm film at that time, I thought I was hot shit. Like I was like, hell yeah, man, I'm going to LA. I got a short film in my pocket. Gates are going to open. And the gates do not open for you when you get out there. No one is going to care that you're there. That's the true story. And the reality is, there is a million other people you're going to be fighting for, to whatever that is, whether it's a director, a producer, a screenwriter, cinematographer, sound engineer. It doesn't matter what it is. There's a million other people. So when I got there, I'm hit with this reality that they're not going to open the gates, and I don't mean anything. And so I started getting PA jobs, and I started on X-Files, and I lasted 3 weeks before I was fired. And then I got a job on Van Wilder, and then I was fired. And I started to watch that little amount of money I had saved going down, 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 down. And kind of like Steven, I realized that no one was going to help me but me. There was no savior out there. And so I had to use my creative. Listen, if you're here, you're a creative. I don't care what job you're in. If you're at Full Sail, you are creative. So I had to be creative to get noticed. So I concocted I guess, an underhanded scheme that would not work today, where in Hollywood, at the time that I was there, assistants ran Hollywood, not the agents, not the producers, because the assistants were the first line. If you could get past an assistant and get to the manager, producer, agent, then you had a chance. I befriended the assistants, and I realized that as a screenwriter, one of the first things assistants do is they will read it first, and then they will write what's known as coverage. And on that sheet of coverage, you get a recommend, definitely recommend, pass. And then if you get that recommend, it goes to the agent. So after weeks of going to bars and getting these assistants drunk, and at that time I was an assistant, I concocted this scheme where I had all of this glowing coverage from every major agency saying, phone starts ringing, and I had a fake name on and you couldn't do this today because of the internet. You could re-Google it and be like, this is bullshit. But then you couldn't do that. So I literally used, trying to be creative, all of these people at my disposal to get myself noticed. Once I was noticed, I had to come with the goods. I had to deliver a script that was worth this thing. But from being an assistant and fired PA to being in Lionsgate, which a lot of people say, oh, that was an overnight thing. No, it was years of manipulation and underhanded tactics for that to happen. So, but I'll tell you what I think the first big break is for me, and this is a little emotional, but 2 years after film school, I had borrowed probably $100,000 on and off from my parents to get to Full Sail, then to get to LA, and then to keep getting money to survive out there. And I remember my father sent me a letter, and it said, and I have this letter framed above my desk. If you're on my Instagram, you can see it. I post it all the time. And basically the letter said, Darren, your mother and I love you. We have refinanced our house to send you to film school. We have sent you money. We have paid for your mortgage when we can. I want you to mark on your calendar 1 year from today. And 1 year from today, where are you? What have you done in your career to bring you closer to your goal? And it was this very heartfelt, emotional letter from my dad saying, we want to support you, but you have to take control now. You're an adult. I sold Saw 2 11 months, 2 weeks after that letter came.
Whoa.
And
right.
that letter was the kind of kick in my ass that I was pathetic. I was sitting there and I was waiting for a handout. I was waiting for someone to notice me. And that letter was like, no one's going to notice you, do it yourself. And that was the letter that pushed me to do it. My life changed after that letter. So I think if anything, it was my dad who was the first big break.
You know, my dad was a blue collar cop. Like the last thing in the world, his life was around his creativity. Like, you know, My mom, on the other hand, is the opposite. She does plays, sings, she's that whole bag. My dad, not so much, and I was raised by my dad. And he was the one that kind of flash forward when I graduated. And I stuck around here actually at Full Sail for a couple of years teaching lab. Because I got ready to move to LA right after school, but somebody quit. And that whole thing I talked about, my personality, I actually became pretty good friends with my instructors. Each one of them I was close with. I always wanted to work extra hard, hang out with them at the whole nine. So when somebody left, they're like, hey, do you want to do this? And it kind of stopped me from going to LA at the time, and it was kind of a safety net. It's like, sweet, I'm gonna keep working on my craft for a couple of years. And you know, I got in the machine here, and I was still in Orlando, and I was still going out, but now I'm getting paid at least, you know, some salary while I teach. But as I was going through here, I was seeing more and more students like you and reminding myself, you're living my dream now. Like this isn't where I wanted to end up completely. I wanted to work on film. And I remember I had one friend who finally was like, and maybe this is my break, he was moving to LA. And he's like, no, I got an apartment. And he randomly said this on a drunken night of us hanging out. Hey dude, anytime you want to come out, you got a couch. And I, being that guy, was like, for real. And he kind of looked at me, he's like, oh, you mean you really do want to come out? And I was like, and I pulled the card. You know, I kind of took it. I was like, no, really, can I come stay with you for a bit? And he's like, yeah. And I remember thinking, okay, I'm gonna go talk to my dad. And my dad's gonna be like, dude, no, don't stay at the job, man. You're making money. Why would you ever want to do this? And he just sat me down. He's like, look, man, I think I was 26. And he's like, you don't have kids. You don't have a wife. You don't have anything that is tying you to anything. If you're going to do it now. And I remember, I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it because I scared the living shit out of me. Because now I have to live up to what he believes in me. And that was daunting because I just never anticipated that from him. And then next week, with a whole $1,200, that's it. And no money from them. Because they had paid first college, but then when I didn't do that, I paid for Full Sail. And my whole thing was, I have to pay these loans back myself. No one was giving me money. So getting a job was like crucial. So the fact I was leaving a job paying me was a big deal. So I took $1,200, took this guy up on his couch offer, showed up in North Hollywood in Tahunga in this really crappy one bedroom that we only had one bathroom in his bedroom. So you can imagine mornings when you wake up, and I don't want to wake up my friend who's letting me stay there for free. So bathrooms for me were all over the place. And I spent the next, almost 4 months. I'd wake up at 8, and I'd start to hustle applying. And I'd apply typically till around 5 when I knew HR would go home, and they weren't going to be looking at it. Then I would work on my own stuff until I couldn't anymore. And then I'd break up the time. I would clean his place, which we're still good friends. He's a lighter and grip who's worked on hundreds of projects at this point. But he still jokes with me, like the cleanest his house has ever been is when I lived with him. Because the guilt was real. Like, I'm on this couch, dude, you know, 26, I'm like, what the hell am I doing with my life? But it was every day. And eventually, and I was working on USC film projects, like Craigslist ads, like anything to get professional work. And not student work on my reel. And like, you know, Steve was saying, he's like, he didn't want to do a real job. I didn't want to do a real job, but that $1,200 goes very fast. For sure. And I had a point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to get a job. Because the other thing for me is, I didn't want to come back to Orlando. Unless it was on my own terms. Unless I had actually done what I said I was gonna do, because I don't know about some of these guys, like, there was people I had seen do that and come back. For sure. And I was not going to be that guy. If that meant I was a stock boy in, you know, at Walmart, I would do it. So it had come like 4 months. I was running out of money. I'm like, okay, I got to get a job to keep working. I got hired by Pottery Barn in Beverly Hills during their holiday season. That same week that they offered me the job, I said yes, but I hadn't started. I got a call from a game studio in Woodland Hills, and they were like, hey, come in for an interview. I'm like, please let this work out. Cross my fingers, because it wasn't film, but I was going to be animating. It was going to be stepping stone. And when I walked in the studio, the first things I see on the wall are all these Fight Club posters. And when I was here, I played this game, Quake, and my team was called Project Mayhem. So Fight Club was like my shit, and I'm walking around, and we go in, and the interview, they were gonna work on this Fight Club video. So everything networking wise, I like laid on the table, thinking I'm not gonna get this job. It's, you know, I'm junior. That next day they called and offered the job. And I got to make the best phone call I've ever made, and that was to Pottery Barn telling them I would not be taking it. They were completely understanding because it's very clear there's a lot of people who take the Olive Garden job to get the job. But then that was still not where I wanted to be, and it was a stepping stone to a friend of mine who worked at Full Sail in compositing, got a job at the studio called Asylum Effects in Santa Monica. And they were working on this new movie called Sky High that they had one extra animator position. And he said, hey man, come out and play paintball with us, dude, so you meet the team. I'm like, what? He's like, just come out. But that was the interview.
The paintball.
Hanging out with them, and like the fact that they liked hanging out with me, they called me in the next day for an interview. And I remember leaving for lunch from the game studio. I drove over the hill, got in there, interview went great. Halfway back over the Tahunga there, they called me back and they're like, hey, do you want to, we want to talk about taking the job. And I remember, I only ran to cry. I had like the opposite. The producer who was giving the job, she had never was in the position to be an EP to get money, so she didn't know any better, so she gave me this ridiculous rate. And for where I was coming from, this was big money. And I remember doing, like, leaving, trying to be cool in the interview. Being like, looking at her, I'm like, no, I think that's fine. But in the back of my head going, oh my God, they're gonna pay me this? And I walked out, and I remember doing like the old school Toyota jump, because I had called my dad in tears, being like, I'm gonna work. And P.S., not knowing what Sky High would turn into, but like, I didn't care, because it was film.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so what?
I would say I'm a multidisciplinary creative. I mix concerts, I mix streams, I mix broadcasts. I'm a children's book author. I give back. Soon to be, and this is me manifesting in front of you all, soon to be a executive producer of an animated short film. So.
Ooh, all right.
I'm a filmmaker. I make movies. I also own a trailer house on the side, so we cut trailers for movies, and a lot of trailer spots. Like I said, you guys hopefully got out and saw Werewolves in theaters in December, which was rad. And then I'm supposed to be leaving for Bangkok in a couple weeks to start the next thing. We'll see, but yeah, I'm just making movies. That's it.
Still moving it.
10 years ago, I would say I was just a director, but and I still make movies half the time. I have a movie coming out with Jaimin Hunsu called Monster, which is cool. But I also do immersive theater, and it's a weird thing to try to explain. Has anyone seen The Game? Michael Douglas, David Fincher. I do that in real life. That we put together these high-octane, real-world situations where you are the star of your own horror movie, and it takes place in the real world with real actors. We shut down city streets. And you are embroiled in a real world mystery that lasts months. And half my time is now doing that, and half the time doing movies.
I started as an animator. I still have my heart, that's where I am, but over the years that's kind of grown into different roles, including directing, supervising, and all sorts of things. Currently I'm a crowd supervisor at Disney. But I've had to wear many hats over the year and pivot quite a bit, like most of us have had to do. And I suggest all of you to be open to doing that. And a dad, part of it all.
Best of all.
Most Mr. Dad's affair, like that's kind of turned into my probably my best gig.
Networking, right? When you're networking with all of your classmates who are going to go out and get jobs. But like really what I'm talking about is like at some point you got to start honing in on what it is you want to do specifically in film, right? Because when you get out of here, you can't apply it to be everything, right? Like, so you want to start trying to hone in on a script supervising, you want to grip, electric. I mean, there's so many different editor, things.
That also goes to my next question. like I said, I'm fresh and new here, and I'm kind of like learning everything, and everything, my problem here is that everything kind of like intrigues me. I came here because I want to be a director, but my mind is also very open. I know that not everybody gets to be a director, and I know that I could change to be a camera operator, I could change to be somebody in audio. But for you or anybody else up there, do you guys know exactly how you honed into what your niche is right now?
Yeah, go for it.
Say the last part of your question.
Do you know exactly how you honed into what your niche is right now?
Yeah, I mean, listen, and maybe the person's in here that did this, and I'm not trying to call them out, but Stephen and I were yesterday sitting at a table, and someone came and introduced themselves to us, and they handed us their card. And this person was awesome, by the way, extremely charismatic, very articulate. But when I got the card, it had 12 things on what they were. And I looked at it and I said, in all fairness, if you gave me this card, I'd throw it in the trash, because I don't know what you are, you're everything here. And I said that for me, and by the way, whatever I was saying this to Stephen yesterday, whatever I tell you, forget about it the second you leave this room, because it's all bullshit. None of it's gonna matter, because no one's story is the same, and what happened for me and how I made it is not gonna work for you. But what I will tell you is that I'm gonna use the roadmap analogy. I knew that if I wanted to go from LA to New York, and I got in my car, I could drive around for a year and never find New York, because I don't know where I'm going, I'm just kind of traveling around. But if I had a map, and I said, I'm in LA, and I'm gonna go to New York, I could get there in 5 days by driving. There's a path. It's okay to veer off that path, but at least I know which way I'm going. So when I came to Full Sail, I said, I'm gonna be a director, that's it. I'm not gonna screw around and do anything else. I want to be a director, that's why I'm here. So that was my roadmap. Every day that I was at Full Sail, I would not waste my time on anything that was not furthering me to become a director. And that was hard. I lost a lot of friends, lost out on a lot of relationships, because, you know, friends of mine would be making tons of money. They're bartenders, they're doing all this other stuff. And I'm here not, because I'm like, being a bartender or whatever that is does not further my job in becoming a director. So when I went to LA, it was the same thing. I got jobs on set that I could be around a director, but those are hard to get. But what that allowed me to do versus some of the other more talented people in my class is I had a roadmap. I had this thing that said that I knew that I could always deviate, but I always knew where I wanted to end up. So my advice from anyone here right now is I think we met 7 people yesterday, and I asked them all what they want to do, and I think only one of them had a clear defined answer. And I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm like, when do you leave? Next month. What does that mean? I get angry, and I get angry because this is an opportunity right now, right here, to hone in and figure that thing out. It's okay to change. I've changed. I mean, listen, I've gone from a directing to writing to producing to now doing theater. It's okay to change. But I think that to set yourself up for the best chance of success, in my opinion, is to have a clear idea of what you want and put a roadmap on how to get there. It's fine to throw it away later and deviate on the thing and take side missions, but that's the way that I think you're gonna find the most success, because then you can actually chart a course to get there. So hopefully that answers your question.
All right, how about this side? Sorry, yes?
We are a small subset of the world and careers in the world. And I think it's okay to ask yourself that throughout. You know, I joke, I come back here to be the energy vampire. I drain you guys for everything you have, because you guys are the reminder of why I chose to do what I do, because the reality is man, the ups and downs on our careers is insane. I haven't told this yet to anybody really, besides a couple of people I'm friends with. I had one of the roughest weeks in my career this last week. They killed a project I've been on for 1.5 years.
Oh.
They let a portion of my team go, and it's been rough. But one of the things kept me going was knowing I was coming back here to see you guys and see my friends and like people who have all been on it. So that, you know, that adversity is going to be there. I think having people around you though who are passionate and can remind you of that is huge, which is one of the reasons I wanted to come back. I didn't want to sit and mope. I didn't want to think about like what got lost. I wanted to come back and like meet people who are doing cool projects, cool things that inspires me again to remind me this is why I do what I do. You know, we're not digging ditches. That's a good thing.
All right, thank you.
I still don't know what I'm doing. I'm still broke a lot of times, and I still struggle with wondering how I'm going to make mortgage. I've made 18 films. I think $750 million at the box office, and there are times that I don't know how I'm going to pay for groceries. I wish that I could say, once you're successful, you don't have to worry about it, but you don't. It's always a struggle. But I think the fuel that has kept me going and has allowed me to stay, still making movies after all this time is a passion and belief in my artistic vision, and finding something that I love and believe in. And I love movies, and I don't know what it is you love, but I know that for me that I love movies. And so whenever I get to that point where the bank account is drained or I feel creatively bankrupt, I go back to the church and I put on Pulp Fiction, or I put on Nightmare on Elm Street, I put on one of those movies, and I remember why I'm doing it, and it helps refill it and find that passion and motivation. But one of the things that I found the biggest key to my success has been, no one is going to believe in you more than yourself. No one is going to care more than yourself. You have to be your biggest salesperson. Your passion is what is going to fuel people to hire you. The energy that you bring in. And I think that for me, I lose energy a lot, I lose passion a lot, and then I return to what made me want to go to Full Sail in the first place. And for me, that was movies. And I go back to that, and I watch, and I find all of a sudden, I start to get optimistic, and I start to have ideas, and then I go back to the computer, and I write myself out of a ditch. And I think that that's what it is that we are in a creative field, and you can write yourself out, you can mix yourself, you can create yourself out, and improve why you're here again to begin with. True magicians. There's a comic book writer, Alan Moore, and he talked about it. Artists are the last true magicians, because you willed something into existence that wasn't there. Your words, by saying it out loud right there, you put a spell into this room. You've made it realistic. You made it real. I remember in Full Sail, I sat in the back of the room where you are right now and said, I want to make a musical. And everyone just kind of looked at me like, this guy's fucking crazy. And then I got to Hollywood, I want to make a musical. But this time I had more ideas because I'd been shut down so many times. I was like, well, I'm going to do this, 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 and this. And I got laughed at. And even after Saw 2 came out, and I went into Lionsgate, and they said, you can make any movie you want. I said, I want to make a musical, and I was laughed out of that room. Now I'm fucking pissed, and I'm like making storyboards for it now. And next thing I know, I talked about it so much, I put it out there so much, I willed it to happen. And I think that for you, it starts with an idea, and you had the courage to stand up and ask that and say that. Do you want to make an animated film? How do you make that happen? You're starting right now. You just started that journey right now. And it will continue to build upon what you just said right here. So don't stop. Don't stop talking about it. You have the ability as a magician, as an artist, to make that happen. So my thing is keep talking about it. Don't stop. We're here all week. Find us in the hall. Ask us questions. And I think that that's why it was important for that girl that we talked to and we talked about her card, is our role for being here this week, and I love coming back to Full Sail and talking, is to gain the knowledge that we've had, in our case, 20 years after leaving Full Sail, that we can impart these nuggets of knowledge while we're here and hopefully help you guys. But make it happen. You will. Just keep talking about it.
All right, Darren, this is for you, because you're like stealing my thunder. I was gonna ask you a question on that musical. Probably one of the only musicals that I actually enjoy, the Genetics Opera. I was like, are we ever gonna get a sequel? And if we are, or anything else like that style in another musical, how can I work with you on it?
Yeah. So, I love that. I love doing things that are dangerous. My thing was, after making 3 sequels, I said I want to do the most batshit, crazy, dangerous thing in my career that I could do, and that was making a musical, a rock opera. And then after that, I kept trying that in my career. I said, I'm going to go to Japan, and I'm going to make a Japanese TV series. And I went to Japan and I made a Japanese TV series. I constantly was looking for ways to just do things that are off-center and weird to keep me feeling creatively fulfilled. The idea for Repo was always to make 3 of them, but when it was originally released, it was a colossal failure. It was abysmally terrible in the box office. Now, ironically, it became a cult underground thing and it made its money back. But at that point, we were we didn't want to wait for Lionsgate, so we started making these other things called the Devil's Carnival, which are 70% the cast of Repo, but we own them. So there's 2 Devil's Carnival films right now, but ironically, I met with Terrence last week, and we were like, dude, 20 years, Repo's coming up, let's figure it out. And so there's still talk about it. Never say never. I mean, I think Avatar took how many years from the first one to the second one to come out? Blade Runner between the first and so I mean, listen, I might be an old man. I'm already an old man, but I mean, I might be geriatric, but we're still going to be fighting for 80 people too. I love that stuff. I just love weird stuff like that.
Yeah.
Hopefully soon.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
really quick, I'm sorry to monopolize. I just got back. So I've shot a Japanese TV series in Japan. I just got back from Saudi Arabia doing an Arabic film. Before that, I was in Bangkok doing a Thai film. So one of the things that I've done is I've traveled to different cultures. And I'll say for me as a filmmaker, what I love about that is it's opened my mind for how crews work. That when I think I understand and I know, and then I'm like, we're doing it right. This is the right way. And then I went to Japan. And I was like, holy shit, we suck. This is awesome. Even shooting in Saudi Arabia, we were the first Western film to be allowed in Saudi Arabia. And I'm like, oh my God, like I didn't even think about doing it like that. And I think what's awesome for me of being able to travel is taking these things from all of these cultures that I've been able to go to and handpicking things and trying to bring it back. And also watching the crews over there being like, why do you do it like this? I explain it, and now I notice they're doing it like that. So for me, I've been very lucky. I mean, you've been traveling too.
It's the same deal. It's the same thing. That's exactly right. You learn what they do, how they do it. Most of the time they're doing it better, which is kind of crazy. And then you try to bring it back and infuse that into your job, into your crews, and how they do it. Even my directing style and how I work. It's funny because I'm such a spaz director where I'm always moving and jumping around. I go to Canada and they're not moving at all. They're like telling me I got to slow the fuck down, right? And so like for me, I love experiencing other cultures and how other people work and how that actually helps me be more creative.